All right. It is 7 p.m., so I will call this March 8th, 2023 Town Council meeting to order. There is a quorum present, and I'd like to welcome all of our guests in person and online. Thank you for showing up. I'll start off just quickly that it's International Women's Day today, and I would be remiss if I did not mention a strong woman from our community who recently passed away, Miss Gerald Reed, who is the matriarch of the Bland Reed Funeral Home, which is an institution here in Farmville. And she was one of the oldest business leaders in this community. And may we all be so fortunate as to walk through life that long, dedicated to excellence and providing for this community as she did. So I think we all lift them up in prayer and hold them in our heart as they go through that in her passing. I believe there will be various wakes and a funeral to come, and just holding them in our heart. We'll start this evening once again with the Lord's Prayer. You're welcome to join. If not, you're welcome to wait and join in when Mr. Reed leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But I will lead in the Lord's Prayer. All right, Ms. McKay, can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Dwyer. Here. Mr. Hunter.
Here.
Mr. Parrott. Mr. Reed.
Here.
Mrs. Amos. Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Mr. Yolen.
Here.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the public hearing for ordinance number 220, amending section 29-23A of the floodplain overlay district. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir, no one signed up.
Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the floodplain overlay district? Not hearing anyone. We'll close that public hearing. Next is the public comment period. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment tonight?
No one has signed up.
Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to speak? Not hearing anyone. Close the public comment period, and we will move on to the first of our presentations on the proposed FY 2023-2024 town budget. Mr. Davis.
Evening, council, mayor, and those in the audience. It is my pleasure to present to you the FY 23-24 budget for the town of Farmville as the manager's proposed budget. As you know, we are in a different time than we have been. We were worried about people spending money at one point in time because of the pandemic, and now we're at probably a 30-year high of inflation and approaching potentially, definitely they're predicting, well not definitely, they're predicting by the end of the calendar year some type of recession. However, the finance director and I feel that we're going to present to you a budget that will meet all of our core services for the town of Farmville and for our community. We also feel that we're going to present this budget in one that is taking care of our employees as far as in pay, continue to deal with compression, but also raising those wages of those employees that are in lower pay grades, while being fair in what we are suggesting as a pay increase across the board, and also providing them with providing them with the tools that they need and gradually upgrading our equipment for them. This opportunity gives us, the ability also to continue those goals and strategies of the council has shared with us. Maybe not. Can you move it forward with the... We'll start off by sharing with you the overall budget with each fund, which is the general fund, the street maintenance fund, the water fund, sewer fund, transportation fund, and airport fund. All of these combined make a budget of $25,278,811.95. And they are all balanced. You'll notice on that graph, that is your percentages of each fund that makes up the budget, with the general fund being the largest portion of that of the budget. And the general fund is where a lot of our services are provided throughout our organization. These are your revenues by fund. As you know, as in prior years, these are our highest three funds are the meals tax, lodging tax, and sales tax, and that hasn't changed in this upcoming year's budget as well. We are not transferring any funds from the water fund this year. We are transferring, in order for it to balance, approximately $466,500, $466,500 approximately. It's a little less than that, from the sewer fund to the general fund, which is still less than the current year's budget, which we transferred. We budgeted 600, but we've only transferred 200 to this far. And so the anticipation is hopefully we'll do the same thing next year. We budget less, which we gradually have over the last few years. And as you know, the goal is to reduce that transfer altogether and be self-sufficient in the general fund through our taxes, and that we build up more capital savings in those enterprise funds. There is a carryover of current set-aside funds, which is how we make our bond payment, where we put money aside each month and then make that payment each year. As for some key expenses in the general fund this year, we do plan to add one additional firefighter position to continue our method of making our fire department a true combination fire department. We are, as I said, providing upgrades in equipment and new capital assets to the organization. Just to give you an idea of what that is, we are doing 5 police cars again, and we're gonna retire the old leaf truck and get a new one. So that's just a few of those that that are, and they're those that are higher in cost. This budget provides a raise to all full-time employees of $5,000, and to part-time employees $2 an hour salary increase. Once again, we did this last year and we're doing it this year to help with the compression issue, also to be fair, and to help those in lower wage positions of not doing percentage increases, but across the board dollar salary increases. As you know from our last meeting, there's no health insurance increase in cost. And we are reclassifying some positions in the compensation and classification plan, which doesn't really result in any major change in the budget, but it allows them to have the ability of helping continue with that compression, but also for certain employees to have the ability later on to earn higher wages at the end of their career if they stay in that. But it also helps, I'll give you an example, the labor one position, we moved it up to a higher class, one higher class. And with this new higher class and obviously the increase in the plan from the prior year, we'll be close to $15 an hour in hiring for a laborer one position, which should help us put us in a good position.
Just have one question, Mr. Davis. Just for the people that weren't here, when we increased the starting salary, so this is just for the employees that didn't get an increase, this is bringing them along the line to make everything equal, correct?
No, we did that last year's budget.
We brought everybody up?
We did a mid-year, and then we did one at for this current year's budget.
I'm sorry. To bring all the staff up to where they needed to be?
In two different departments, we did in the budget that would have been 21-22, we did a partial increase and raised the hiring rate of the police department from the minimum. We created a new hiring in the middle of that year. The beginning of this fiscal year, we gave all other employees, and we did some stuff for Public Works too in the middle of that year. The beginning of this current fiscal year, we increased everybody else in those departments by $3,000 that didn't get anything in the middle of the year. And the ones that got something in the middle got less at the beginning of this year. And every other general employee in the town got a $2,000 raise.
Thank you.
This coming year, this budget is everybody will get a $5,000 raise. We've talked about the security. It's a big thing, you know, of our systems that we run off of, and so in conversation, the best way to do this is to outsource with a firm to have them act as a chief security / information officer, which is we've budgeted $30,000 for that, which is going to be a lot cheaper than trying to have somebody on staff and benefits in that type of position. You're looking at over $100,000 position if we were to try to do something like that. And then last but not least, we learned last week as we were finalizing this and putting it together to present that the Commonwealth of Virginia has received funds that they are going to pass through to law enforcement agencies, and it's ARPA funds, federal funds, to local law enforcement agencies, sheriffs, and police departments for law enforcement, and it has to be used for equipment. And so that is an addition for us. Those are just some of the highlights of what is really from an expense side in the general fund budget. And that's your look at what makes up the general fund from an expenditure standpoint. And it should come as no surprise that the two departments that we spend the most on is what the citizens see the most, and that's public safety. So that's police, fire, and emergency communications, and then the other is Public Works. Our street maintenance fund, is balanced. Obviously, you know that that is, money is, we get from VDOT 4 quarters each year. And that is for street maintenance program and for maintaining anything that is adjacent. So like when we do have to make some improvements to sidewalks, that some of that money's in there. But we basically use a lot of that money for street maintenance. That's what they want to see, is street maintenance repair. Our water fund is balanced, and also in that balance has a built-in contingency of over $244,000, which is really good, because if we were to have something that happened along the way, like I said, we wanted to start building a capital reserve in these enterprise funds, water and sewer. Sewer is not going to build as big of a, it's balanced. It does have a built-in contingency of a little over $58,000. However, it doesn't have as large a one because we're taking some money so that we can fund the general fund. And until we can get the general fund solvent, and the only way to do that, as I told you, is to not take on any more debt and reduce the current debt service that we have. The transportation fund is balanced. There was a slight deficit in that we are using prior year fund balance to cover some of that deficit, which is a little over $74,000. In this budget, we did, for the first time in 2 years, raise the rate for Longwood to absorb some of the increased costs that we have in the bus service related to fuel and maintenance of our equipment. The airport fund was in a slight deficit as well, but it is balanced by using prior year fund balance to cover that deficit as well, a little over $189,000. I'd like to close by saying thank you to all of you for supporting us and the staff in our position to lead the organization operationally through this budget each year. And I would be really remiss if I did not thank, obviously I didn't do this all on my own by far. This is a culmination of teamwork between the department directors and their staff to come together and share and look at what they need and provide that to us, and us being myself and Julie, the finance director. And I give a big kudos to Julie, because she took a lot of the budget this year and ran with it. And I'm very appreciative of all of them for their help in presenting this budget to you. And I look forward to, at the end of this meeting, you'll be getting an email from me that will have the full proposed budget, 79 pages of it to be exact, including the budget message. And you'll get the 5-year capital improvement, proposed 5-year capital improvement program, and the proposed classification and compensation plan. Look to have a discussion with you all on April work session. So make sure you take this to bed with you every night, and make sure you're ready to go. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Do we have any preliminary questions? I will also note that, yes, we'll have the 79 pages to study up for work session where we can dive a little more in depth. But do we have any preliminary questions at this time?
I just have one request. I noticed the other day FEMA was paying for paid firefighters, and you had to maintain the position for up to 3 years. I didn't know if there was anything we can look into or not.
Mr. Clark and I have already been working with the CRC, and we're looking to, it's called a SAFER grant, and it does allow for benefits and pay for 3 years, and we are submitting for three positions through the SAFER grant.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. You've got the draft minutes in your packet. Do we have anybody who wants to move, edit, remove anything from the consent agenda?
I'll make a Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next is approval of the finance report. Mrs. Moore, I believe we got a little dose of this at work session, but you got another brief overview for us?
Yes, you have the February finance report in front of you. I'd just like to note that the general fund increased by $804,324.03. And the majority of this is due to business license revenue coming in this past month. We also earned $32,656.21 in income from the money that we have invested at LGIP. So that makes our total to date $185,496.08.
Excellent. And I'm sure Mr. Parrott is sorry that he is missing that information.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
Do you have any questions for Mrs. Moore?
I
Not
make a
hearing any,
motion that
thank you.
we approve the finance report.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, and on to new business. We have the request for the adoption of ordinance 220 on the floodplain overlay district. Mr. Davis, you have any additional info for us? Not hearing it. We've had the document for a couple weeks now and went through it at work session. Do we have a motion?
Sure. I motion that we accept the ordinance as stated.
Second.
Motion and second. Mrs. McKay, can we have a vote on that, please?
Can I have the motion state adopt ordinance 220?
Yes, I recommend we accept motion 220 as stated.
Get another
Second.
motion and second. All right. Ms. McKay, can we have a vote on that, please?
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Yolen.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the motion's passed.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the request approval of the 2023-2024 local choice health insurance rates, which we also went over in work session. There thankfully was no change, which was nice. Mr. Davis, do we have any additional info on that?
No, sir, we just need to submit that to him by the end of this month, so it'd be appreciative if you could approve to stay with local choice.
I move that we approve FY 2023-24 local choice health insurance rates.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. McKay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Yolen,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the motion's passed.
Thank you. All right, that's the bulk of the business. Do we have any additional staff reports there, Mr. Davis?
No, I just make another note, as I did at the work session, and it should have been in the water bills that residents received, that and other communications, that we will be hosting another community input meeting on the topic of plan unit development at the Robert Russo Moton Museum on Tuesday, March the 28th at 6 p.m. Other than that, I do not have anything else.
Thank you. That is our third listening session, I believe. So March 28th, be there. Do we have any? I'll go around the table. We'll start at that end. If anybody has any comments.
Just one acknowledgement. Mr. Zachariah Kowalski came to council a few weeks back asking for some curb work done. And Robin and his crew made some changes that were most friendly for him. He expressed his gratitude, and he'll now have a safe passage from his new home up on Andrews Drive, which will be happening next week. His home will be arriving, and give him safe passage downtown. Thank you.
Nothing.
I'll just for anybody who doesn't follow the socials, you know, if you do, you'll get advance notice of these things, but I want to let the council know that I have met with President Reevely once already, and we discussed having some regular meetings to keep the lines of communication open, and also met with President Stempert from Hampton-Sydney, and the same sentiment was expressed there. Everybody was amicable to continuing to keep the lines of communication open, and as we move forward, Mr. Reed and myself had the occasion to meet our Attorney General, Jason Miyares, at the Moton Museum recently with the Farmville Chamber, and that was a great event, and an opportunity for him, I believe, to tour the museum for the first time. He has put up a display in his office to Barbara Johns, which I thought was a pretty cool gesture. And as we move forward and Barbara Johns finds her way to the U.S. Capitol, we'll continue to have that light shine on our community, which I think is a good thing. That said, if there's no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.